What's up, everybody? I'm here with one of my best friends on the planet, Bobby Peterson. Bobby, it is an honor to have you on, man, and I'm super pumped to have the world get to know you a bit more and what you think about life. And go ahead and tell us who you are.
Yeah, sure. What's up, everybody? Bobby Peterson, Sacramento native, born and raised. Rich and I have known each other for like 8 or 9 years now. Met in the Natomas area at a local bar and sushi restaurant.
A little watering hole.
And 4th of July action. Who am I? I am a realtor. I'm an investor. I'm a father of 2 little guys. I got 2 toddlers. I got an amazing wife. I try to have a community that my friend and I, Chad, are building for investing and teaching newer investors how to educate, building a community, and showing people maybe a path and a way to possibly buy their first house, their first rental, flip a house, all of the above. So I do flips, I own some rentals, and we do some real estate stuff with traditional buying and selling. So a little bit of everything, mainly in the real estate space.
Cool. Awesome, man. So investing, I know you've been doing that for a while, since actually before I met you. You had started dabbling in flips. And I know you and Chad are building capital wealth investors. I love it. I've been a side of the team, not really on the team, but a side of it, and helping.
We're talking about getting you on stage one of these months.
Yeah, that'd be.
Figure out what that spiel would be, what our message would be, and how the value would be there. That'd be cool.
When it's the right time, we'll know.
You're the hype man for sure.
Yeah.
When we need like some energy in the crowd, we definitely call out Rich. Throw a little flavor in there.
Let's sprinkle some Rich in it, and let's rock and roll.
Spice. We need some woo.
Some possessed woo. Yeah.
Some Ric Flair.
Yep. There you go, man. So I gotta say, dude, as a friend, and I consider you a brother of mine. We've been through the ringer together. We've done had a lot of fun, and now our fun just looks entirely different, man. And I gotta say, watching your journey and watching you grow and seeing your marriage grow and seeing the boys grow up, like, it's an incredible honor to be a part of your family, and just curious, like, what changed in your world where you're like, hey, man, the way I'm living isn't actually working for what I truly want in life?
Yeah, that's a good question. Certainly you and I have had some fun times. And as you said, fun looks different these days, opposed to in the past, going out, drinking all the time, maybe chasing more girls, to being in a stable relationship and having kids and being a father and what that looks like. And ultimately what's changed, I'd say a big thing is maturing, mid-30s, a little over mid-30s now at 36, and ultimately realizing the path that once made sense and maybe a path that I only knew, which was drinking and partying and hanging out and mixing in business as well, wasn't conducive for the lifestyle that I wanted to create with our family, and certainly wasn't going to be able to sustain that lifestyle with having a wife and kids. So ultimately for me, I stopped drinking for a long time. I almost took like a year off drinking, and realizing that I needed to make some big adjustments in my lifestyle, and drinking played a huge role on making poor decisions, for sure.
I can agree with that. Drinking was never did anything great, like, aside from friendships and everything like that, not feeling great after right? Hangovers and all that great stuff. And in your 20s, it's like, hey, I could do this over and over and over and back to back to back and nothing. Then you they always warn you, hey, that'll change. You're like, oh man, I'm invincible. And all of a sudden you're down for 2 days, unproductive, an unreliable person, and all that stuff. I'm just super proud to be in your world and to watch the growth, man. You've actually helped me pinpoint some areas where I lacked. And I was like, oh, well, if I choose to desire a family and a relationship and all that stuff, like there's things that are conducive for that and things that are not conducive for that. And so just walking side by side together, you know, I think it's important for people to realize that those decisions you make on either a weekly or nightly basis, or even if it's a weekend basis, you tend to lose sight. You know, you're recovering, you're not fully in cognition. You're like, oh, okay, well, let me chase to the weekend so I can go have a bunch of fun again, you know? And like I said, our fun looks a bit different now. It's golfing, it's hanging out with the kids, it's, you know, going to dinners and going to bed on time, you know what I mean? So it's just awesome to see, man.
I think it's like a control and discipline. I think those two words have definitely like been important for me to put in place, right? Like everything that, can I have a couple drinks and control my evening, or am I going to go wild and go off the rails? Am I going to have discipline to wake up in the morning? And I think with you too, right? Like you've done a number of changes in your life, and it's been awesome to see your growth, and both of us, you know, some of it's just maturing and some of it's obviously making the right decisions and implementing discipline and control into our lives. You know, you just got done with like a 75 hard and you ended up doing like 90 days or something like that, right? It's all about control and discipline and being consistent, right? Like those three pillars of how are you going to do something crazy and make changes in your life is ultimately repetition of the same thing and saying no to so many different things. And I think that's been a huge thing in my life these days is, to an extent, a lot of people don't even hit me up anymore, which can be nice because you don't have to say the no's. You don't have to have the discipline where people already know. It's like, Bobby's doing like family stuff. So I don't have to say no as often. But I mean, there's the period for so long when you're saying no to people wanting to grab drinks or have beers or do the later night outs, the boys trips, things like that, right? You're having to say no and you're having to be disciplined and you're having to have control of your mind in order to just embody an evening and envision a more calmer experience that and still enjoy it, right? And not go like stir crazy and have like FOMO, right? So you've done an amazing job of that as well, and that's certainly something I had to master.
I absolutely love it, man. And in those decisions, man, I mean, just knowing from our history, like all the chaos and the just the chaos, really. I don't want to go any further than that. But that should state enough on like the implications of what we're doing. And I'm just curious, man, how do you feel and how does Afton feel and how do you think the boys are growing up and paying attention to you? How does this all make you feel?
Yeah, proud. I think proud is like an easy word that rolls off the tongue, that I'm proud of where I'm at. You know, I think other friends and colleagues could say something similar about maybe where I'm at. And I think it's reassuring and it feels good that my boys won't know the person who I was. Yeah. Right. And that's impactful because, you know, in this day and age, you know, I get in conversations about parenting and schooling and all that. Obviously, who your role models are huge. Mm-hmm. Right. And who maybe their friends are, and obviously who their parents are, right? Because they're going to take a lot from, they're watching. Right? Like you're implementing not cussing anymore. That's a huge thing, right? I think about that. Like obviously, Afton and I, we're cussing around the house. What is JJ, Casey running around saying? Shit and the F word sometimes. It's like, where do they get that from, right? Smaller scale of something bad. But obviously, if I'm out staying late, drinking, you know, experimenting with different things, they're going to be right there in those footsteps. So I'm glad and proud that they aren't seeing and they don't know the person and the bad choices and mistakes that I made in my late 20s and early 30s. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, and you have that wherewithal now to share with them, hey, son, I went down this path. This is what it looked like for me, and this is what was happening. And you could show them like a core leadership value of being a true father, you know? I know your parents divorced when you were how old?
4.
You're 4. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my parents split up when I was 12 and officially divorced at 13. We had a remarkably different upbringing, and to be here, it's just incredible, right? Like just, oh, what that happened when you were little, and then what transpired from that, and okay, cool, this moves this way. And for me, it was like, well, I don't want to repeat those patterns and behaviors. And you get to a point where it's like you get to make a decision, and it sounds like you made, for me, coming from friend to friend, dude, I think you made the best decision possible,
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's kind of like a no-brainer, but when you're in the trenches and in the moment, it can seem like impossible, because that's all you know is the lifestyle that you're living. And in some ways, like, you have ideas and thoughts of going like a different way and living a different way, but maybe it doesn't sound as fun. Right? It's like if you're having fun, going to bars, taking shots. And for me, it was like a lot of socializing, right? It wasn't to an extent like having issues with alcoholism and not being able to control it, I guess, at home in some cases. But it was more just wanting to be life of the party. We'd go be a part of a kickball team, which we would have a beer or two at 5 and 6, and then we'd shut down the bars till 2 on a Tuesday. Right. And
on a Tuesday.
And then there'd be, that was Tuesday. And then Thursday be like, oh, there's a mixer. And then Friday was like, oh, but it's hanging out with friends and going out on the boat. And then Saturday be this, right? So then you got 4 days out of your 7 days of the week. And obviously that's not a popular schedule for someone attempting to be a family man and a new father, right? My son was about 1 when I realized I needed to make some significant changes. So yeah, I mean, there's two sides of it. One is being the role model that went through some of those experiences and realizing, hey, this is a better way to live. And then there's like him not even understanding, like, that's not even acceptable. I never lived that way, which is kind of a fraud per se, but just leading a completely different way and lifestyle that this isn't even a question. And I think for me, like you mentioned, like, my parents split up before. My mom was from Minnesota. She went to a school of 20 or 15 or something like that for like 5 grades. There was like 5 kids per class, right? She was pretty naive being in Sacramento and in California of what was all out there and what the environment was that I was exposed to in school. And quickly, like me being around friends and drugs were around and smoking weed and parties and fights and all this crazy stuff, she didn't have like an understanding of maybe what to control and what to get in front of and stop. Where I feel like I do have a sense of I'm going to be more strict and have more control over what my boys will be allowed to do. And I think that's going to be huge, like, for their upbringing. So I'm hopeful it all pans out and, leads them to making better decisions than I did.
That's something to watch for, man. I look forward to that day, one day where we have Uncle Bob over helping me out, be like, hey, dude, no, this is what I did and all that stuff. That'd be an incredible moment. Dude, so cut out alcohol for almost a year, man. Rock with you, right? Hey, let's go. Cool. Boom, boom, boom. What did you see happen in your business world?
Yeah, I think initially business didn't matter. I was just trying to become a better person internally, become a better husband, become a better father. So really business was on the back burner, and things were still flowing. It was kind of like 2021, I think, when a lot of this was happening. So obviously COVID kind of slowed life down, and I was totally okay with it. And then, progressing into like a bold law with Keller Williams, a company that we're both a part of, is, your business grows to the extent that you do. And a lot of that has taken place with maybe some of the discipline and control. And for like 6 or 7 years, I was hungover quite a bit of my life, and I still ran some successful businesses.
Yeah.
And since just getting better control, and I do drink now, stay away from liquor, have some beers, rarely have more than like 3. And it's allowed me to get up pretty much every day, be disciplined, 5:30, whether it's going to the gym, working on various systems, or understanding and pointing people in the right direction with my team and stuff like that. So business has been great. Like it has exploded to an extent, and some of it's been hiring people and taking leap of faith and bringing people in my sphere and showing them what I've learned, and then implementing things and just moving the needle forward like every day. And really it's been getting in a lot of rooms and environments of people that have been successful and showing me the path of scaling per se.
Yeah, totally, dude. One quote that I stumbled upon recently, and I've heard it, and I'm sure you've heard it long before, but it's starting to resonate with me a bit more. And it's standing on the shoulder of giants, you know. And I see you in your business. I see you day to day, right? Hey, dude, I'm gonna go to this investor meetup in Vegas or LA. I'm gonna go sit at the right table with these people and talk about their businesses and see what other tools and resources you could do to really narrow down your focus and purpose. And I got to say, capital wealth builders, dude, we've been missing something like that. And I think this is something that you were like destined to do, in the sense is, I know that for every one of our friends, you're always trying to help in some capacity. Hey, dude, what if you did it this way? Or what about this? I mean, you've talked to me about some stuff and we're like, hey, bro, that's dumb. Like, here you go, right? Why would you do it this way? You should have talked to me first, right? And I'm an experienced guy.
Constructive feedback.
Constructive feedback.
Maybe
like,
this way could have been a little better.
Yeah, and it's all learning and processing. I mean, you've helped me buy my first investment property as we're partners in on that, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
And giving me some pointers on the flip that I'm doing right now. Like, I can't thank you enough. And I think if people hear the message, it's talking about getting connected with people, right? And you're doing that at a high level with Capital Wealth Builders. Dude, we go once a month to this meetup, and you always have great people on the stage that are providing so much value, so much freaking value, that's like, I can't even comprehend some of the stuff they're talking about. And for me, I'm like, well, I want to go down that, I want to chase that carrot. Hold on. I can't go down that. But I do know other people in the room that are like, oh, this person said this. I'm going to learn how to subject to. I'm going to learn what innovation is. I'm going to learn how to flip properties. And you know what? If I can't do it, I'm going to find deals so I can bring it to Bobby or his team or, people in that room. Hey, I got this. What do I do? Right? And you're a phone call away. You're like, oh, okay, well, let's structure it this way. I'll come check out the property and all that stuff, And I know Mitch does an incredible job there in Roseville too. And I love seeing the competition, but it's friendly competition. And it's all love at the end of the day, man. So that's a long form way of asking you, what do you want from Capital Wealth Builders, man?
Good question. I don't know. Like, I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I used to run mixers and events and various get-togethers for the Young Professional Network, which was the realtors. And I think part of it, like, I enjoy the socializing piece. Mm-hmm. I enjoy helping people maybe get to the next level. And I will say part of it's like, I do get hit up a lot by people ask to pick my brain or grab coffee or grab lunch or let's get on a call type thing. And part of it can be like, hey man, let's connect at the meetup and we have some more time for me, like readily available. It can be hard to obviously coach up my team, keep everybody accountable. I got to do my own things. And then also like have coffees and lunches and calls and all this stuff for teaching other people. So part of it's like, hey, let's get in a community. There's a lot of people to learn from and we could concentrate and focus on a time where I can help give some ideas for people to succeed in whatever endeavor they're focusing on. But ultimately, I mean, I'd say our mission statement per se is to educate, to build a community and really to be a resource for the community in Sacramento. And we've have amazing momentum right now, which is really cool. I do think, not to toot our own horn, we're probably one of the better meetups, and better can be a relative term, right? It's a larger meetup, and we almost get 100 people that come, and we have good speakers. It's an amazing location, and it's good networking, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's too big in some regards. Like I enjoy going to some other friends' meetups, and it can be more intimate and a little more smaller and maybe more intentional conversations, right? So there's a piece that can be missed when something can be a little bigger. So ultimately, answering the question though is to create a community really that people can come, learn, thrive, and network, right? I don't think it's the networking piece. We're building a community. Like for me, I've 1000% got to where I am today from getting in rooms, going to events, meeting people for the past 12 years now. Kind of crazy. I started in insurance and I was going to real estate networking events. And then I became a realtor and I ran some events. I went to events, but 100% like networking has got me to where I am today. So having an environment that promotes that, I think is huge for me, and I enjoy being a part of it. And frankly, I do enjoy running it.
Yeah, I think you do an incredible job. I
Appreciate that.
Can't toot your horn enough on this thing, dude, because it's the opportunity to build legacy for others, right? When we're talking about networking and community, there might be somebody in there that just kind of stumbled in or heard about it last minute, like, oh, I thought about investing. And they have no idea that in 5 years they might be a multimillionaire because of what you provide and what you value, right? And what you value is education and networking, right? And it is all about who you know, right? Like there's a lot about work ethic, but who you know does help with that because, like I said, standing on the shoulder of giants, who can you learn from that is where you want to be? Something I talk about is sitting at the right table. And I've watched you this last year. Hey, I'm going to go over to Ryan Pineda's thing in Vegas. I'm going to go be a part of their coaching program the last 2 years, I think, right? Like, hey, I'm going to branch. I'm going to go do these things because I want to offer more. I want to be better. I want to do this. And one of the things I've been talking about is sitting at the right table. And I think if you're a young professional, young entrepreneur, man, woman, whatever, like, I think if you have a goal and an opportunity that you should just tap in with the resources available, right? And I think Capital Wealth Builders offers that because it's not just about you. It's not just about Chad or who's on stage talking right now. There could be somebody in there that they talk to that they build a business together, and offering opportunity like that, I think is monumental. I think the world needs more of that rather than, hey, I'm going to get all this wisdom and I'm going to go retire, pick seashells and play softball on the beach. You know what I mean?
Sounds fun.
It sounds fun, but I think that's a bill of goods, man. Providing wisdom, because what do you want the world to be like when you leave? And I think you're doing an incredible job of making the world a better place in that
Appreciate
aspect.
That, man.
Right?
Yeah. And I think it's like an old saying, like no one succeeds alone, right? It's like when I started out, I had a broker and a mentor that flipped and did property management, all that. I had another buddy, Garrett, that he did flips, and I partnered with him. So everybody starts somewhere, right? So it is cool to be part of whomever's journey. You and I, like, we met at a neighbor's house where I lived and in a bar, and weeks after we were getting to know each other, you're like, what do you do? I'm a realtor. You're like, I want to do that, right? So it's like creating that environment of multiplying that where we have a community, and who knows who invites whoever to the event. But last April, or a couple weeks ago, we had an event. I had my wife's basically nephew, he was like 19, come. I was like, come to the meetup. Like, you're gonna hear this guy speak about foreclosures and all these magical ways to find deals. There was another like 16-year-old doing like an internship that asked about an internship, a friend's son, and then there's like an 8-year-old there, right? So it's kind of cool, like very like high schoolers, and then someone in middle school there, and then there's plenty of people like in their 20s. So it's cool to have an environment, again, to have people come and either learn from me or from you or whoever's in the audience and just get some feedback. And I guess one, like, everyone's seeing these ideas on social media and the internet, and that's one thing. Maybe it's less, it can think like it's harder to obtain when it's out in the world and far across the country versus like coming to an event in your backyard in Sacramento, and it's like, oh man, these guys are accomplished in these things and solving complex problems. that they're seeing that it's a little easier to accomplish. And additionally, coming with a problem or an opportunity and then working together, right? And being able to partner and do these joint ventures and help people get to the finish line and ultimately be a mentor through the process is cool too, to hold someone's hand throughout that and for them to see a path on how to be successful in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's super important right now. And we see what's going on with, the interest rates and all this stuff. And I think people you have a couple different types of people, right? Some people like us be like, okay, great. Well, I'm going to go solve this problem. It's going to be here no matter what. Let me continue to march forward and march onward in this and say, okay, well, this is what this looks like now. Let's set up some safety measures just in case. And then you have the other people that tend to tuck away and put their head in the sand like an ostrich. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, right? What would you say to somebody that has a pattern of continuing to run from fear?
I mean, it's tough. It's the life of an entrepreneur and somebody self-employed. You have to take it head on, right? And some people aren't cut out for it, right? So there's like the solo entrepreneur, and then there's the individual being a part of a team, right? And maybe them providing some more resources and stability. So I don't think everybody's meant to like run their own show. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like most of my life has been a person that has wanted to be a part of something else. Just making sure the pieces made sense. So when I like partnered with my wife when we got married, like I love being a part of that team dynamic because I was missing it when I was running and gunning solo. But ultimately right now in this economy, like it's tough right now, 1000%. Like there's plenty of people grabbing second jobs or even first jobs or leaving the industry. And it's going to be like a survival of the fittest because whomever is able to weather the storm and keep making some contacts. And when things get better, it's going to get easier because they still created all these relationships while things were tough. What can I say to someone dipping down? I mean, ultimately it's, I think consistency is huge, and discipline and control, right? Those three things, like in theory, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and in the long run, things should work out. Unless ultimately it's like a skills thing internally, or maybe a confidence thing. I think for me, like I haven't been great at a lot of things. I'm not the smartest guy at a lot of my friends, but I feel like I've been consistent for a really long period of time and put consistency in a lot of different, marketing tools or systems that we utilize. And at the end of the day, eventually things work out. Like you keep knocking on the door, they're going to let you in. And if they're not going to let you in, maybe they refer you to someone else who will, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's tough right now. I will say that.
Yeah. It's, I mean, my side of things, like I'm into investing now, where I got one property under the belt as far as investment, and then one flip that I'm doing that'll be coming up here relatively soon. That's awesome. Floors going in today, counters are already done, HVAC installed, all those things. The longest part so far was getting SMUD to turn on the power because they were stealing power. That's going to be a very interesting project, and I enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I've been wanting to do that for quite a while, and I mean, I think you watched me dip my head in the sand for 3-4 years now. Sure. And then it came to a point, like for me, and I think the other people that do the same thing and putting their head in the sand, you gotta check yourself. Like, is this something you truly want to do, or are you only going to want to do it because somebody else around you does it? Right. And having the awareness around that, having the resolve, and if it is not for you, make peace with that and be okay with that. And just for me personally, I was not okay with that, and I said, you know what? Go. Just do it. It's gonna work out. Or it won't. You know what I mean? And guess what? I got time. Yeah. I got plenty of time and opportunity to either correct a mistake, because there's mistakes all the time. There's always complications and opportunities to grow and learn. And I think understanding oneself and what you're truly being called to do and what you're truly passionate about is super important, right? Like I said it for 3-4 years. Hey, I want to do a flip. And then nothing. Then all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm going. You know what I mean? And it's okay if you're delayed, but if the delay takes a decade, right? Is that something that you truly want to do? And for me, like 4 years in, there was a point was, are you going to do this or are you just going to talk about it? If you're going to just talk about it, stop talking about it, you know? And so I think people need to just have a come to Jesus moment internally and say, hey, is this entrepreneur roller coaster something that I am passionate about? Do I believe in myself?
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's a part of it, like getting out of your own way, being prepared, which it's, you know, you were, right? You had some savings and you got another income source coming in. Because, you know, the tough thing about actually flipping a house is like it could take 4 months to get paid.
Right.
It could take longer to get paid in this market. So can you like handle maybe the carrying costs and the outgoing money to make that work? And for you and how I started, it was having another job and then supplementing it with flipping some houses. And then ultimately it stopped being a side gig as I was making more money flipping houses. And then ultimately I delegated all the traditional listings and buyers and stuff like that and just focused on investing. So like someone that's one, either getting started, or two, just kind of having some struggles right now, it's ultimately, I think it's really working with a mentor or partnering with people. I think that's huge until you really, one, get some experience under your belt, and two, like you have momentum. I think like just rolling out there cold, right? Just running out there off a shooting slump or something like that, right? It's harder to get warmed up and get hot and have momentum flow. Momentum's real. Like, I mean, whether it's in, you know, business or in sports or all these different things, right? Like intrinsically, like things get rolling and they multiply. So I think there's something to that for sure with you know, entrepreneurs that are struggling at the moment per se. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like connecting, squatting up and working with others as a team and getting to the finish line together.
I totally agree, man. Especially like if you're new to the world of real estate, you know, getting some information, networking, getting with a group, and man, you don't got to do the deal yourself. You don't got to tackle it yourself. You know, there's opportunity. There's people that are willing to lend a hand and show you how they operate, right? And you've spent better half of a decade investing, right? So there's a lot of tools in the belt. You know, you have them hung up. You're like, all right, cool. I got to break this one out here, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to break out a rake when you're trying to sweep in the kitchen. You know what I mean? It's not going to do anything for you. Yeah. You're just scratching floors and got to replace them. You know what I mean?
I feel like you and Taylor are like really good examples in our Keller Williams office of like being in a team and thriving, right? Like sometimes people get short-sighted with, oh, I'm only going to make half of what's available. Mm-hmm. Obviously making half is better than nothing. And honestly, when I run my business, we're operating on like a 50% profit margin, right? So there's like the perspective, like our sales team has been looking to hire someone for 6 months and we can't bring anybody in. I'm like, how is it this hard in this economy and in this market? Like, I'm sure there's people, one, that would want to learn, two, like be in, you know, just an environment where we are moving and shaking per se. And it has been a challenge finding people, and Taylor's thriving and doing great with connecting with, you know, a top performer in our industry and in our office for years. And then now he's become equal to Sora's, or however you want to scale it, with their team of just dominating and working together. And you and John for the last 3-ish years or whatever it is, like that was a great move for you. And you could think about yourself where you were like 3 years ago, and you talk about that entrepreneur that you know has a lot of these skills but didn't have it all figured out and put together, and connected with John, and you guys, together, like, have had a lot of success and been crushing it, and doing a flip together, and working on these different business opportunities where it was lending, and it was the office and things like that, right? So I think there's a lot to be said for working together, understanding that you don't have to do it all.
Right.
Like, it's hard to do it all, and especially when we're in different phases of our life, right? Like, I had a friend, and so many people, they want to get into doing what maybe we're doing, or they could see where maybe I'm at, or you're at, or whomever's at, and think, oh, wow, I want to do that. But there's a lot of steps to get there. And it can be even harder when you have a family, or you're the head of the household, or you obviously have people to support, right? Going all in and carrying all the expenses is not easy. So having a crutch per se, or a team member to work with, or whoever it is to start that business with, is definitely something I think more people should consider as they're trying to get through this challenging, turbulent time right now with the economy.
Totally. And I hear, we hear everything that we talk about in our industry, around our industry and everything, but even just on the agent side, like, for example, when I went into the military back in 2007, I knew we were at war to some extent. I didn't pay attention, dude. I watched sports. I played sports. Like, that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. I was in a little metal band and stuff. Like, I didn't really pay attention to news. And graduate high school, leave foster care. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to go to the Army. Let me go do that. I'm going to go earn something. I'm going to earn my keep, earn my stay. And that's a big part of a team. I was so naive to actually going to war. Like, I just didn't think about it. And I think a lot of newer agents are in that mindset where they may not know actually how difficult it is. We know what it has been, and what it is today is drastically different. It went from a speed market in COVID to a skills market. This is a drastic skills market. And if you're not studying your craft, being better every freaking day, practicing, rehearsing your scripts, rehearsing your listing presentation, rehearsing your buyer presentation, dialing consistently, door knocking consistently, open houses or anything like that, you're going to go back to a job. And it's going to feel like a failure, but it's a learning opportunity to understand, hey, okay, well, I made that leap then. I had enough confidence then, and I messed up. It's not a failure. It's only a failure if you quit, right? And a temporary pause isn't necessarily quitting. You have to provide for your family. Like, as a person with a house and cars and bills, I have to be able to provide. I have to pay those things, or they'll all be taken away. And, I do look at newer agents where, man, they don't have a clue, and it's an incredible place to be, And then somebody like you or I that's been in here a little bit longer, we just say, okay, well, I have to be more consistent. I get the opportunity to be more consistent. And you also you went full in on no one succeeds alone, dude. Like, my ego and my pride got in the way early on. And I was like, when we were partying and everything, grew a mullet and sold 15 houses my first year with a bleached mullet. And people were like, how'd you do that? John approached me.
It was easy.
Yeah, it was easy. I had no idea. I just did it, and then partnered with John. And I got to say, man, like talk about a diamond in the rough, dude. I had no idea that my world would look like it is today without that partnership, without that relationship. And, you and I both, you were pretty similar. Like, hey, we could do it. And then we get hit in the head. It's like, oh, wait a second. Like, maybe I could lean on somebody here, Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity.
And I was fortunate in there. Like, it was my wife. She was in the industry and the business. Like, I was a solo entrepreneur. I started everything myself. I did flips on my own. I bought some rentals. And it's tough to juggle everything on your own. I think I was doing a couple flips. I had a couple rentals. I was selling, maybe 30-ish houses a year or something like that. And I couldn't balance it all. And I don't know, I probably would have been stuck because you wouldn't want to give up the active sales income. The flip income's cool, but how do you balance it all? And you got one to pay the bills. And then when we got married, then it was like, cool, now I can like focus. And I wasn't, I was younger, but it was tough to delegate things, especially when it's new. Like, oh, I'm just getting successful at these sales business and everything's getting referred to me. How do I just hand it off to someone else to take care of? So it was, my partnership was with my wife, and it was cool that, it was someone that I loved and connected with, and sometimes that we bumped heads at times, but working together had a lot of perks and benefits, and I had a partnership as well, just like anybody else, right? As someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to work through complex situations, and someone to have my back. So just, without her, like, I definitely, my growth would have not been accelerated at this pace, and been grateful for, again, working with someone, whomever it is. And for me, it was my significant other.
Absolutely love that, dude. And yeah, I remember you guys had the sticky notes. I saw the picture of the sticky notes all over the place. Hey, how's this business going to operate? How's all this with your coach?
Yeah.
Right? And having an outside perspective on things. And I think that's always great, is having, you have the people in the trenches. You got that rock and roll. And then having an outside perspective. Hey, just so you know, I can see this right here. I can pinpoint this. This is going to be an issue, right? How do we fix that or delegate that, or do we remove it completely, right? And I know you guys have had incredible conversations, and, headbutting, of course, happens when you join forces and all that stuff. And it's interesting. I think a lot of people can learn from that, like not doing it alone. No one does succeed alone, dude. You think Kobe Bryant? You think Michael Jordan? You think Ed Milet? You think Ryan Pineda? All these great athletes and business owners and all that succeed alone? Absolutely not. They have their right hand. They have their left hand. They have the body parts of the business delegated to some level of authority, right? And I think that provides an incredible opportunity, such as what you're doing with going back to Capital Wealth Builders, is you have a great team behind you supporting and taking on these roles as you grow, And I think it's really awesome to watch. It's amazing to be a part of, right? I'll always be a cheerleader for you, bro. I was just want to know, man, if you could say one book changed your world, or you could tell somebody, hey, this book was awesome, go read it, what would that be?
A book that changed my world. There's like, you mentioned Ed Milet, The Power One More. It's always been like a favorite book. 3 books that I can even think about that I read recently. Alex Hormozy, $100 Million Leads, like business book, like that is like the Bible of how to get more deals and how to get find more business. So Ed Milet is certainly something that Power One More of that I've read a couple of times now. That's kind of helped me become a better human. But ultimately, I'll just say right now, like we're reading Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, who is like an FBI negotiator, and our business has we're at some pretty crazy levels right now where we do spend a lot of money on marketing. So this book is really all about sales and tactical conversations and negotiating. And everything in life is a negotiation. Like I've been in some form of sales for like 25 years now, where I've been hustling something. And the past like 3 months, as we've been going through this book, 2 months, picking apart chapter by chapter each week and having like an in-depth analysis, talking about mirroring and labeling and understanding true motivation, and having conversations with sellers that allow us to negotiate better. For us, at times it's getting a cheaper price on a property, or it's getting a deal instead of the competition per se. And ultimately, 2 things, takeaways, is like the power of silence has been huge for me understanding. And when I say silence, a simple example is talking with a seller and reiterating the price that they're looking for while you're summing up maybe what's wrong with it, and then just pausing.
Power of the pause.
People get uncomfortable with silence.
Yeah.
And I'm actually pretty good at it, because I'm more of an observer when I'm in groups, and I listen a lot more. and I add some feedback and things like that. So when it comes to talking with sellers, like, I'm actually really good at pausing and just letting the silence go. And people will just backpedal through their conversations as they're just working things out in their mind. And they may think, oh my God, did I just throw out a crazy number? Maybe this thing needs more work. Maybe whatever it is, maybe that commission percentage is justified. Like, just creating silence with conversations has been big. So that book right now has been impactful for our sales team, per se. Yeah.
Power of one more.
$100 million leads.
$100 million leads.
Yeah.
And never split the difference. I've read all three a couple times and gonna read them again.
I think you're set for the year if you read those books and just kind of recycled through. I think The Power of More is definitely a book you could read multiple times. $100 million leads is just a ton of ways on how to get business and attract talent and recruit, and something you could, again, like a Bible of like going back and like analyzing how to do social media, how to do podcasts, how to do short form, long form, various things like that. And then Chris Vaughn is more than just like sales. It's like everyday communication with your significant other, or how you interact with people, and understand, and like defusing emotions too, right? Like negotiating or a lot of different things in life when we're communicating could be a very emotional conversation. And I think it's helped me work through some of the things and maybe heated conversations that I'll get into, and just pause as well, like in those situations, and think about what I'm going to say instead of getting in this, fight or flight conversation. Like, give it a little more time to resonate and give a little deeper thought into the words going to come next, and then be able to convey that message a little better, where it could diffuse a situation that could have been pretty hostile. So.
Awesome. And one last question, man. If you could give the world one piece of advice right now, what would it be?
The world, one piece of advice. It's like business advice, personal advice. I'd say, for me, I guess what's made a big difference over the past few years, and I guess throughout my career, has again been consistency. But then you also put in like discipline, like the discipline to be consistent. I think every day I work out about 6 days a week. I eat pretty good. I try to stay limit carbs. I am consistent with that. For the longest time, I was getting up, making phone calls, 9 to 11, doing lead generation. Now it's me waking up at 5:30 and setting up my team for a successful day, going through the various systems or the various marketing channels that I need to tweak. And it's really just being consistent every single day. In the end, should produce results.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been an honor, dude. I absolutely love you, and I look forward to having you on again, bro.
Appreciate having me on, and this is fun, man.
Let's go.
Good stuff. Cool.